Whoa.
Okay, not sure what that was all
I'm glad I
about.
wasn't changing my shirt like I usually do.
Yeah, lots of things could have went wrong right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
it could have, and I still don't know what happened because that was just out of nowhere. Hi,
Okay.
everyone, and welcome to Weird Awakenings. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to be delving into the world of the Rh negative blood phenomena. What is it? Some people say it is, just a glitch, basically. That there was a blood morphed at some point. Some people think it's extraterrestrial. Some people think it's the bloodline of Christ. Some people even think it's those who did not descend from monkeys. But we're going to be touching on all that and more. All right, guys, how's it going tonight?
Welcome.
Great.
Going good.
Good.
Glad to be back. I've been on hiatus.
Yes, we missed you last week.
Yeah, well, we did.
The shit's been running right.
Hey,
Oh,
Mr.
there he
Risky.
How
Hey, Rich.
How are you tonight?
You can whistle that? Damn.
I saw a picture of you the other night, and for
Was
just
I naked?
no, but I
I'll see
thought
that
for just a minute that it was Henry Rollins. You've shaved or you've trimmed.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do that sometimes.
Yeah.
You've been spitting on people in the crowd and fist fighting them?
No, I got my friggin' beard now. I don't fight people. Cecil, never. It's not my style. I'd like to say I'm a lover, but that's bullshit, too. How is everybody? Shit, I'm alive?
Doing
I'm
good,
scared.
Rich.
I shouldn't be swearing. Sorry, human.
Yeah. Good to see you again.
You too.
So I'm curious what everybody's blood type is.
I'm O negative.
Really?
Yeah,
Cool.
figured it out. I thought it was O positive. It might be O positive, but Mom said O negative.
Is that something that they take at birth? Just out of curiosity, like when you're born,
Yeah.
do they automatically classify your blood
you're
type?
typed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can get a blood type kit off of Amazon. It's like $8.
Got you.
Yeah.
I would have to ask my mom what my blood type is. I've never been in a serious enough situation to know.
It may be on your birth certificate. I don't know if they do that because you're a young person. I'm an old person, so it's on my birth certificate.
Mhm.
Also, I was considered a male child. They didn't have my name, even though my parents had my name picked out, a year before I was born. So,
I had my dad's birth certificate, and it was literally a bracelet that said TJ on it.
All right. I'm actually A positive. But RH negative runs in my dad's family. I have multiple cousins that had to have the what's the shot? Rogam shot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, when they had babies.
I am AB negative.
Ooh, you're the super
Really?
special one.
Super special.
That is the most rare. I
Uh-huh.
think.
No, RH null is the most.
No.
Yeah.
That's
But-
it.
AB negative's next.
Yeah. See, it's a. Yeah, I think.
No, go ahead. I was
Yeah. Yeah, mine is a negative. So, I did not realize there would be at least 3 of us on here that are RH negative.
Negatives.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you, Tully? Oh, you
No
don't
idea.
know. What do you
No.
have?
I am AB and my dad was B negative.
Totally said mine's red.
So I'm a carrier.
Actually,
Hey,
it is
speaking of-
blue until oxygen hits it.
That's a Mandela effect. That is a Mandela effect. Google that, Morgana. That isn't the case anymore.
No.
Really?
Yep.
Blood was never blue.
Really, it only appeared that way through the skin. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, they taught us that in school, that blood
Right.
was blue in your body and red in the air, and that isn't the case anymore.
Yeah, something else we've been told a lie about.
Well,
Surprise, surprise.
your vein tissue is not clear. it's a little bluish. So there's
Yeah.
that as well.
Maybe that's where the misconception came from.
It could be.
In the 90s?
No, this was farther back than that.
They were definitely still teaching that in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Well, the thing is, once somebody gets taught it, they believe it forever.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I always look for blue.
Hey, I'll tell you, I think we've discussed this before. I learned a lot of things after I got older and went to college and moved away from Mississippi. Things that we just were not taught in school and that were, taught incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's two sides to that too, though. Like even with the education away from the country,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's Southern values that you maintain that you start to appreciate more the longer you're away from the country.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always said, whenever I moved away and close to Cincinnati, he's like, people move there to make a bunch of money and then spend their whole lives trying to make their way back.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think of more as a prison around here. Like once you escape something always catches you and brings you back. Like I've got out twice, and right here I sit.
Well, the thing about it is there aren't a lot of other places. I love Mississippi, even though I clearly know its shortcomings. But now my hometown, I will never move back to because there's nothing there.
What's so crazy about our hometown, Montolis, when I finally went back, like I hadn't been back in a year, and it's just like 20 miles down the road.
Mm-hmm.
It looks dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like,
I can explain that on the after show if you would like.
So I'm not crying. I'm really not crying. My cat just took an unbelievable shit behind me. And it's literally eye-watering and not kidding. To combat this.
I think
The box is right there. And this notorious little shit just decided to use it. Has no mercy.
Oh man,
I know what she ate. I fed her.
we are off to a great start.
Oh, it's awful. Laughing at misery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, RH negative.
Okay, so what did you guys find out? How about if you start, Stephen?
Okay. Well, I don't know what direction everybody else is going to go in, but I think with one of the things that I checked out was that some have the opinion that the RH negative blood taps are probably the original blood taps, because somebody with just like Cecil, he has O negative, which is the universal blood. Anybody can receive his blood. I have A negative, so somebody who has A positive, just like you could receive blood from me, and with the AB that Rich has, that would Hadley would be able to receive from him. But now none of you with the positive blood could give us blood because our body would fight it like it's a disease. So that's really interesting to think about. Seems to be, I don't know, some have speculated it could be some type of a nanotechnology that's attached to the blood platelets.
You know what the most interesting thing about that is to me is how they figured all of that out. How many people had to die to figure that out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was that what the blood test used to be about before people could get married?
Yes.
That was
Okay.
part of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep. And I know a lot of states do not require blood tests for getting married now.
Right.
But I know that by the time I got married the first time, you still had to have a blood test in Mississippi, but it didn't have anything to do with RH. It was to see if you had syphilis.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't tell you that.
No, they didn't. But that was exactly what it was about.
Ah,
So, you know, but that's I know that when I was pregnant with my kids, like I said, after you're a certain amount of time along, they do the test to see if you're Rh negative and if your baby is positive and everything like that, and then they start taking steps. And like I said, my kids are in their 30s, so I know they've been doing it that long. But I remember one of the things I read too, talk about how many people had to die, is in the 1700s, I think, they had started transfusing animal blood to humans, and it took them almost 100 years to figure out that that's what was killing them. It's because animal and human blood was not compatible.
Huh.
Well,
That's what I mean. Like, and that's not isolated to this either. That's a lot of modern medicine, right?
yes.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they didn't.
Did
start
anybody come
blood
across
typing.
RH null?
Yeah. It's got like 42 people in the world have that blood type.
It's called golden blood, and it's like Aboriginal Australian, which I'm going to have to go into this. The DNA of the Aboriginal people in Australia and in Papua New Guinea is different than ours. They just have a different DNA strand.
Yeah, some refer to that as the ghost DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember coming across something about that.
Well, I think that's interesting.
What's it good for?
What?
What can you do with that blood though? Like, is it just because it's rare, or is it similar to rich? Like is it similar to like a universal donor, or what is it?
I don't know.
That makes it special.
Question.
Well, it says that donations are incredibly scarce and difficult to obtain when they need blood.
Right. And they do say that most people with that blood type actually donate for themselves about twice a year, but that particular one breaks down quicker than other blood types. So they can't like store it up for, years on end. They have to do it. Mm-hmm. That's what I came across. Yeah.
That's
So
that's a preservative that will preserve blood for quite a while.
Right. Well, the thing is, it has no RH at all. And they say that contributes to the how quickly it breaks down and everything. But like I said,
it's just a protein. It's the rhesus factor protein. So
right.
I guess I don't know why that would break down faster without the protein. I would think it would break down faster with the protein, because the protein is what breaks down. That's just weird.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know anything about it, but it's just odd to me. And I know they didn't know anything about RH until, I don't know, but they started blood typing. Landsteiner won the Nobel Prize for it in like 120 years ago, 1902, 1900, something like that. So they didn't start even blood typing until then. But I'm not really sure when they started crossing for the RH factor. But it's named after a monkey, and nobody else other than humans has it. So it's weird.
Yeah.
No other species has that factor involved with their blood.
Ain't it weird that people's now referring to like the 1990s and 1980s as the late 1900s?
Yeah, those people need a punch.
Yes. Agreed.
Hadley, to your point, I know we've discussed this in the past, but I mean, the Aboriginal people are supposed to be living in one of the most spiritual places on earth as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened to them in Australia is, I mean, considerably worse than what we did to our Native Americans here.
Mhm.
Is they basically stripped them, and we did the same here. It's a very similar story, but there's very little of their culture that exists now. And those medicine men that were so in tune with Dreamtime and those different types of shamanic ways. I mean, this was like the whole tribe lived in that way. But when they took them off, and I guess, what would you call it? Anglicized them. That they just kind of they have a lot of drinking and drug problems and such in the Aboriginal culture now. That many of them have moved from the kind of, I guess, Bushman lifestyle that we think of.
Well,
Right.
At least
it was
according
a penal
to
colony, wasn't it? Wasn't Australia a penal colony first?
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, not first, but it was.
Right. That's
Isn't that
where.
how it was introduced to Western culture?
Well,
Yep. Yep.
Right. And with the Aboriginal, well, with the natives in every population, if they don't integrate into the new population, well, it's kind of the same story everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, and I'll tell you, this is something I found very interesting in my research, is that a lot of the things that we hear about Bigfoot, you know, and like the wild man, is the exact same thing that people
Yes.
said about the Aborigines in Australia. So
That's interesting. It's a
well, I think we've
most
talked before that I think that if you look at some of the, what are they? Sorry, I've got a blank mind tonight, as always. But the people who do the drawings based on like a eyewitness sketch.
Oh, crap.
Calligraphy? What? I couldn't say it even if I remembered the
The
name
sketch
of it.
artist, whatever the
Yeah,
sketch artist is.
forensic artists.
Yeah,
forensic artist. Yes.
the eyewitness accounts of Bigfoot done by real like police sketch artists look very similar to the Aboriginal people to me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. You have the Yowie. The Yowie is in Australia. So, and what the reports are is they're a little bit smaller than what the Bigfoot are in North America. So.
Awkward
back to
silence.
blood.
Yeah.
Back to blood.
But it's interesting because the natives that live in southwest part of the U.S., I mean, they actually have words for some of the dinosaurs and things like that. If they have a word for it, that means that somebody in the tribe passed that word down because they saw it. In my way of thinking, you know, in the oral history that's passed down in the tribe.
Well, I saw this week where this guy was some type of viper that he bought this viper as a baby, and it's lived with him for a year, and it had like 12 babies. It's a female viper. It's never been introduced to a male viper, and it just had babies. And so I think that a lot of stuff that we think might be extinct might not be extinct.
Right.
Because of
Yeah,
stuff
what
like
we
that.
would.
Again, it's just a theory. I don't get paid for this.
Yeah, it's the coelacanth was considered to be an extinct species of fish until was it the Japanese? They actually caught some and brought them back with them.
Yeah, it's a deep water fish. That's why nobody sees it.
Right. You know, and so I think it's considered, you know, a living fossil. I think.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
I found that article I read earlier. It says the golden blood group seems to be the result of a genetic mutation, spontaneous change in the gene. It is commonly seen with mutations in the RHAG gene, which codes the RH association. This protein is required for directing the RH antigens to the red blood cell membrane.
Makes sense.
And then says that the mutation is often associated with a disease called hereditary stomatocytosis. And these individuals can have long-term mild hemolytic anemia and increased RBC breakdown.
Neither of those is fun. No. Well, I mean, going back very far, cradle of civilization is supposed to be out of Africa. That's what the common belief is.
Right.
But the thing is that no actual black Africans, none of them from, no native Africans. Native is the wrong word because now native Africans can be white, because of the Dutch and all that stuff. But no native black Africans have an RH negative blood type. None of them.
Correct.
I thought that was pretty telling as well, because if that's the cradle of civilization and that's where
I thought Rich, I thought that I read when I was looking into this that it seems like I read that Ethiopia has a spike in Rh negative.
I think that's from people coming into Ethiopia from Spain, because
Got you.
there's a group of people in Spain at some town, and they have like an enormous, like 30-35% or something population.
The Basques.
With I don't
I
remember.
thought that was in France.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're actually in the Pyrenees, which is like between Spain and France.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And they also have the only language in the world that has no association with any other language.
Right.
It's not it's not a romance language. It's not anything. It's completely unique.
Aliens.
Well, Rich, with part of that, what could contribute to a few of those in Central Africa now having an Rh negative was the fact that the Berbers lived in, I guess, what would be considered North Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And they genetically matched up with the Basque in northern Spain, between Spain and France. And the highest, I think, 40 to 50% of the population, I think, in the Basque are Rh negative.
I think 35% is Rh negative, 50% is O negative.
50. Okay.
Yeah.
That would explain why the NSA recruits like people with Rh negative from that area.
Right.
Well, when I was researching this, an ad popped up that somewhere in Georgia was hiring people with Rh negative blood types, but they didn't go deep into why or what you would be doing and why you would need.
I have heard that the CIA likes to have Rh negative people there.
Yeah, apparently, like the belief when it comes to the why they track all these people with Rh negative blood types and everything is because they have they're more likely to be like in tune with the paranormal, like telepathy, precognition, and clairvoyancy, and some people even may have like extra physical abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like
depending
6
on
fingers on one hand or something.
depending on who you talk to,
Anne Boleyn had 6 fingers on one hand.
Yeah.
But another thing that I came across was, and I forget what the number was now, I should have written it down, but was the amount of U.S. presidents that have Rh negative blood.
And that's probably because they're just they've been created in some kind of little lab since the beginning of the presidencies. Like,
Well, they are all related.
yeah,
Yes.
just like any royal empire, they all the tree kind of turns into a vine at some point.
I was gonna kind of steer it into Nephilim territory for a second. If the world was wiped out to get rid of these things, how is it that Rh negative is as prominent as it is today? Like, to me, the Rh null is kind of where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
If the as many Nephilim as they say survived, but instead we have a pretty sizable, in the grand scheme of things, population of Rh negative. If it is Nephilim.
The way I feel about that is like humans have a ability to survive. They say that there's some way there's some things that will just take out the human race completely, but I mean we find things all the time where people have lived underground for 100 years. Who's to say that wasn't just people packed full, that whole cave system wasn't packed full of people with Rh negative blood?
It could be. They said that the last, or at least that reset, was to get rid of Nephilim, giants, and the lot. But if you think about it, we always talk about the red giants. Most Rh negatives are redheads as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's usually the eye color is usually blue. Was it blue, green, hazel?
Yeah.
And red hair is usually associated with it somewhere in the gene pool as well. And the highest, I mean, I don't think China really has a Rh negative population.
No, Asians, I think, is 1%.
Yeah, it's very low.
If I was gonna guess, like if you had to guess one population that was cloned into existence,
Don't say
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
well, like in the 1800s, they did the whole Cabbage Patch thing in America, where they say that they cloned even back then kids to push the Industrial Revolution in America.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever went down that rabbit hole, but it's pretty extensive.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
What do you think about the possibility that everybody that has Rh negative blood is just reincarnated? Like those are the ones that have truly lived a lot of lives. That's also
I heard the whole gods amongst men thing. I was reading about that earlier.
Yeah,
I'd have to see it to believe it.
I don't really feel godlike. Do you guys? I mean,
Huh?
I said I don't really feel godlike. I have Rh negative blood.
I don't know, Rich. Rich,
feel like
you
an
do
idiot
have,
sometimes.
But we think of you as a god, Rich.
Well, thanks.
you do have very pretty locks, Rich.
They do need to come off at some point. I don't know about the godlike thing. Honestly, to me, Rh negative blood just seems like a mutation. Really, it really does. And whether, like you were saying, Stephen, whether we started off that way and then went to positive or null, I just don't know. It just seems to me that it would go the other way, actually, and that the Rh negative factor, or the rhesus factor, would be, it would come later rather than sooner because there's less of them. There's much less negative than positive. So it just seems to me that if that's the case, mutation started, I don't know, 40,000 years ago or whatever, when humanity was already, very much around, or it could have started, 100 years ago.
Okay, here's one other statement that I found very interesting, that marriage between cousins, brothers, sisters, or anybody who is a near relative is at higher risk of having Rh null.
Okay. Well, it's just like what I think science passes off as what they truly believe is that it wasn't until around 7,000 years ago until blue-eyed people came into existence at the result of a genetic mutation. So I don't know, with a lot of this stuff right here, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for us to know what the real truth is, the way that so much propaganda and misleading is put out to the public.
I know it's off topic, but I always heard that blue eyes were kind of rare. How many people on this panel have blue eyes right now?
I do.
Everybody, right? Like all four of the guys I know.
I have green eyes.
You have green?
I have like bright green.
Mine are brown.
You're brown. So you're the only one with brown eyes.
They're green.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
interesting.
It's very funny too, because all right, if you live in this country, chances are you've been told at some point in your life, if you've been here for multiple generations, that you have Native American blood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I preface with that because if you look at my mother and my grandmother when they were young, you would just immediately go there. But according to my DNA results, I have not one drop.
Yeah. See, they don't have a whole lot of Native American samples to go from.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing with those DNA tests is they try their best not to call it a guess.
Right.
I've seen people swab random things and send it in, and it's pretty comical. Like people
Yeah.
swabbing iguanas and stuff.
Yep.
The only reason I know I've got some in my family is because there's photographic evidence of it.
Oh no, I had to send mine in 3 times before they could get usable DNA.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what was comical about mine, I know I've told y'all before, but they changed mine like 4 different times from what the first result they sent me.
Yes. They've had stuff added to mine too.
Did they go, actually?
And honestly, I really believe that the first one was probably the most accurate.
Well, my first one, I had 0.5% Native American, and that has since become from Ghana, Africa. So,
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Why not?
Never done it.
Yeah. And like I said,
Yeah.
I did it because I figured this is going to be fun. So I got my husband to do it. I'm going to say hands down, he is the whitest person in the world. I mean,
I
he
think
just-
that I could give him a run for his money.
I'm pretty pale.
Well,
Yeah,
see, he was born redheaded and he can't look at the sun without burning.
Oh,
But,
okay.
you know, so we always knew, but now we know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like he's like 99.5% Northern European and like 0.05% Ashkenazi Jew. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
I
Yeah,
don't go
but
outside because
is that one on? Is that one on yours, Morgana?
I'm sorry?
Is that on yours?
No, that's on my husband's.
Really?
I don't go outside because I tan too easy. I turn into a bronze semi-god or whatever. 10 minutes and I get these Ripley muscles and everything.
Did that work? Because
I'm gonna send you a picture of me and my granddaughter, and of course my granddaughter's dad. He is redheaded. So,
yes.
but I'll send it to you.
My youngest granddaughter is bright redheaded.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a possibility that RH negative blood has anything to do with Scientologists?
What?
You know the story of Scientology, right?
Ooh, well,
Let's not talk about
we made a
Scientology.
hard left turn right
Dude,
there,
get
didn't
out of here.
like they
I'm calling
dropped
Leah Remini.
like they dropped all these aliens that were encapsulated into like these, like all these prisoner aliens into a volcano and their spirits.
No.
You don't think so? All right.
No.
we?
No.
Oh man.
What Walt Disney, L. Ron Hubbard, and Warner von Braun. The three stages, dude.
Yeah. That's like taking Buzz Aldrin serious, huh?
Yeah.
Don't challenge him about going to the moon. He'll punch you out the face.
Lordy.
I need to step away for a quick sec. I'll be right back.
He's alerting the Scientologist I brought him up.
Lord. I've heard some horror stories about Scientology. Maybe we can
Let's
get into
not
that
talk about
someday.
Scientology. Let's stay off of religion.
That's right. That's an after hours conversation.
That is an after hours conversation.
Oh man. Yeah, that one's. And again, I'll say it again. L. Ron Hubbard wrote more science fiction than anybody in the world. Anybody.
So, let's go back to blood.
Okay, so I know, like I said, you know, most there are always exceptions, but it's like most are redheads. Most have light colored eyes, you know, blue, green, hazel. They tend to be taller. I read that on one of them. Oh, come on. My damn web keeps jumping up and telling me it's going to something it shouldn't. So, so what else was it? Oh, come on. Let's see. A lot of it's more of, an extra rib or vertebra.
Yeah, I've never tried counting mine. I'm too fat to count them now. So.
But here's another one. Okay, they cannot be cloned. How do we know this unless someone has tried it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that kind of crossed my mind, you know.
I think there's an extensive cloning program.
Oh, yeah.
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 At
What
this
was that?
point, it's not even deniable.
Yeah, what was it? The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where all the rich people, you know, had been cloned and everything, and that's it. Let's see. They tend to have a lower blood temperature. Their blood pressure can be lower or higher, which is, to me, that's kind of crazy. You know, I mean, if it can be either or, why even say it's a trait?
Right.
Increased sensitivity to heat and sunlight. And you know, that to me kind of goes with the whole being redheaded and light complected and stuff.
You know, the lower blood temperature thing makes some sense to me if they did go underground for a period of time, just like how, you know, things that dwell in caves have a completely different biome. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm
Well,
going to tell you,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
when I get sick, my temperature drops. Like when I had the flu 2 weeks ago, my temperature ran 95 to 96 the whole time I was sick.
Really?
Always has.
I'm kind of scared to bring it up, but the lower blood temperature, and we got one on the panel, but could that relate into like reptilians?
Sure, I could be.
I don't know, maybe. No, they got warm blood, right?
No, they
No.
have cold blood.
Snakes are cold-blooded. Yep.
Just, all that means is they can't internally regulate their own temperature, their own blood.
Yep.
They need the sun.
Do you think there's any correlation between Rh negative and indigo children potentially? Because it seems like indigo children typically have Rh
That's a
negative.
good question.
Yeah.
The power of Google right now.
I don't think so, because like there was a period of like so many years where like every kid born was an indigo. And there's not that many Rh negative blood type people.
It seems like that.
There is a study on it, RH factor indigo child studies.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah, first thing that comes up, it's a YouTube thing. RH negative blood type, bask in the Cro-Magnon, Star Child, 2009. And that's where they lost me. Okay.
Yeah, great. They're telling us we're aliens.
Well, it all plays back
aliens, as it was called on Rugrats.
Aliens.
Well, it all plays back into, you know, the Rh negative blood type being more in tune with the paranormal, because the indigo children are basically, they have like psychological abilities and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Well, you can tie that into the Fae too, which is the other school of thought, is that it could be like interbreeding between Fae and humans.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that being quite a possibility.
Yep.
I wonder how many people in Iceland are Rh negative.
That'd be interesting to know. I mean, the larger populations of the Rh negative blood types are in Europe. So,
yeah.
So do you think it's, I know that, Rich, you said it sounds like a mutation. Do you think it might have just been like a certain clan that was developing while the other clans were developing, like down south? And someone met?
I suppose anything is possible when you mix genetic markers like that. I mean, yeah, that's exactly how it happens. That's how mutations well, it's not the only way mutations happen, but that is one of the ways, is to have two organisms of either the same or different type of organism. When they mate, they can donate genetic material back and forth, you know, to, well, not back and forth, but to their offspring. So yeah, it's very possible. But it's more likely that it's just some kind of spontaneous mutation that just said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and it turned into, you know, Rh negative blood. I mean, I'm certainly not a doctor or an expert on blood, but it just seems to me like that's how that would.
That looks like a good diagnosis.
The only thing I really know about blood is it tastes like copper a little bit. Every morning when I cough, I can taste it.
Okay, that's not good.
After I get the first big cough of blood up, I'm usually good for the rest of the day.
The reason it tastes like copper is because it's got hemoglobin, which is iron rich. So it's
right.
There you go.
Yeah. So if it tastes like copper, Cecil, you're good. You're not iron deficient.
I wonder if the blue few gets if it tastes like blueberries a little bit. The blue people of Kentucky. But Rh negative blood, it does seem really weird, like because
the majority of people that I've read about having Rh negative blood, not everybody, seem to feel like they have deja vu a lot and things of this nature, which is kind of why I brought up the question. Maybe it's like a reincarnation thing earlier.
Well, you know, I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of times when it comes to things like that, you know, when you're researching it and everything, small children tend to remember past lives better than adults because they haven't been told not to. You know, they haven't been told that that's not okay. So, you know, as you grow older, but it's the same thing too, I think, or it's associated when someone has an organ donation and they pick up those memories of the person that they received the organ from, you know, that cell memory transfer, I guess. Yeah.
That's strange to me.
Yeah.
Like it's strange to think about like your organs that are used to a certain blood type being able to function off, you know, certain other blood types, even if they are universal.
Well, you know, I know they have to do a crap load of matching, you know, before they transfer, you know, an organ from one person to the other. Of everything we've ever talked about, that's the one you found strange.
It's just, well, I mean, I've spent like we'll say 40 hours of nonstop coding this week, so my brain's kind of fried anyway.
Okay.
I can tell you what star. Not joking.
Start semicolon control.
Yeah, I can give you some select statements to work with.
Okay, Henrietta Lacks.
Oh yeah, I wanted to throw that out there just so I didn't forget about it.
Yes, and we've kind of touched on it, you know, briefly, I think, in the past. So tell us about Henrietta.
So, and I'll have to get I had the terminology pulled up just so I didn't butcher it. But her cancer cells, which you know isn't exactly blood, but the cancer cells were source of they called it the HeLa after Henrietta Lacks, I'm assuming. Cell line, which was the first immortalized human cell line and the most important cell line in medical research history. They've even commemorated, like I think she has statues and everything in her honor.
Yeah.
But once you look into the conspiracy part of Henrietta Lacks, they basically let her die so that they could access that bloodline.
Yeah. Which was par to course in those times, and some would say now too.
And I wanted to throw that out there just because, you know, if we're talking in terms of blood, that could be the most important blood ever to exist in modern times.
It's the first and still only known immortal cells, so it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Wasn't she radium treated? Wasn't she? Didn't she have? She had cancer, right? Like
yes.
Cancer.
Yeah.
The cells are cancerous.
Yeah.
Wasn't she treated? Because that would have been a radium treatment back then. They would have treated her with radium to try and kill cancer.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know about immortal cells, but I really don't know. Full circle to mutation again.
That's kind of the thing, Rich, is it was the cancer cells that were part of the immortal cell line, from what I understand.
Well, that kind of sucks.
They said that
she wasn't immortal.
Yeah. They said where other cells would die when at the same stage that she was, hers were doubling every 20 to 24 hours.
Oh.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Who's echoing?
Who, Alan? Who's echoing? Is it me?
Well, we would have to go through the process of elimination. I don't have any speakers.
Well, I got
No
people moving down to someplace in Oklahoma to get Cecil in a minute anyway. They're my Tom Cruise buddies. Really sure of the address, but they were like, "We don't care, we're going." So, one down.
It might be me because I turned my headphones up really loud because I can't hear anything. I'm deaf.
But they are still using her cells today to study the effects of toxins, drugs, hormones, and viruses on the growth of cancer cells.
Yep.
I have a strong feeling that they're using it to try to crack the code of immortality too.
You know what? We were talking about the use of what was the Schwarzenegger movie? You were talking about that. There was another movie, another series called Altered Carbon.
Yes, I love that show.
Where you get all kinds of clones, and you can just transfer consciousness when one of them fails. I think that is the kind of the ultimate goal.
Breaking news.
I don't think they did.
No, they get nothing.
No.
Breaking news.
She died in 51 at the age of 31. So at that point in time,
she was black.
Yes, and she was black.
There you go. They're not going to give her anything. Not in 1951.
No.
Breaking news: Robbie Knievel, son of Daredevil, Evil Knievel, has passed away at age 60.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I believe, didn't Lisa Marie Presley pass away?
Yeah. Yesterday. Yep. So
I'm curious.
What are you curious about?
What was Henrietta Lack's blood type? Oh, Rh positive.
So there's another story about someone with a similar blood type that one of the ABC departments actually destroyed post Henrietta Lacks. I can't remember the exact specifics though, but we could talk about it after show.
All right.
Yeah. Like I said, that's okay. That's what.
Well then, that's weird that the only immortal cell comes from Rh blood type. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Ain't that strange to anybody else? Like that's weird to me.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sylvester asked a question about Henrietta Lacks' family, and I just looked it up, Sylvester, and it's from Thermo Fisher, and they're trying to get a dismissal of the court case, and it's the family of Henrietta Lacks filed a court case saying that companies made millions from mass producing her cells. Yeah. And so I'm sure they want some of it, or they want it to stop, for her memory. Either way, they're not going to win that one, not against Thermo Fisher. At least I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I would say billions, probably.
Yeah, and, they're helping people too. I mean, so it's not like they're using her cells for to dominate the world, or well, maybe they are. Ultimately, they're telling us that they're using it to help people. So I just don't see them winning that case, or at least maybe there'll be a monetary settlement, but they'll never stop using those cells. It's for the betterment of mankind. So
right, and that's one of the things that I had read too, was the fact that they no longer did these experiments on human beings because they had those cells and could do it.
Natalie, what were you saying? I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I have no idea. I think I was going to ask where y'all think it comes from. Like, what theory did you come across that you identify most with?
Are you talking about the Rh negative blood?
Yes, I'm going back to topic.
I got to go with mutation. It's good. I mean, I can't think of anything else. When people talk about aliens and stuff like that, the scientific community, a lot of them just says, nope, can't be, blah, blah. But when you think about it, the observable universe holds 2 trillion galaxies. And each galaxy holds up to 100 to 200 billion planets. I mean, are you telling me that there's nobody else out there? Come on. So that said, it really still sounds like a mutation to me. I don't know about aliens. I don't know about force mutations or laboratory mutations. But it sounds like humanity needed a kick in the ass for something, and this was that kick. This was we need this to move forward. because as it is right now, there's significantly less Rh negative than Rh positives on Earth. That's just how it is. So it seems to me like that mutation happened after whatever the mutation was that gave us the Rh positives, if that was even a mutation.
There's actually a lot of research to support your theory.
Yeah.
That a lot of people believe that. What about you, Tully?
I'm kind of a combo. I do believe that either the Nephilim or the Anunnaki were real because it's literally in the oldest text known to man. Whichever one of those was real, I think that whatever was used to attempt to erase that civilization from the face of the planet probably emitted a massive amount of radiation. And I think it could have been a combo of location and radiation of, the people remaining that might have caused those mutations, people building up, tolerance to certain environments post apocalypse at the time.
Morgana?
Yeah, I mean, I do follow with that was very possibly a mutation of some type. But I agree with Rich in the sense that even if you believe in a higher power, I don't think that power looked at us and said, "Damn, I did a good job," and quit there. So I think that there are other beings all over the universe, and whether or not some have been here, I mean, hey, the possibility's there. So I don't completely rule that out either.
Cecil?
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. No, there's several things that I think it could be. Like, it could be, the mutation factor, like a tribe somewhere in Spain crossed over into met people from northern Africa in the middle somewhere, and they came up with some kind of mutation. It could have been the Anunnaki that created, since they're unclonable now, who's to say that they didn't create them to be unclonable, It could be several things. It could be just remnants of the past just carrying over. It's really hard to say. But I'm going to go with aliens because that's the way I roll.
Steven?
It's, I don't, to me, a mutation could certainly make sense to me. I know both my parents are both A positive. So, and the fact that they're both A positive and I'm a negative is really interesting to me as to how this could have skipped both of them, but one of them or maybe both of them had to be carriers of it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Yes, because I was on one of the ones I was listening to today said that you can be Rh positive and still carry that negative allele on your cell.
Right.
It could be some kind of math factor, some kind of algorithm plugged into the simulation too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's right. Or did mom and dad really have a great relationship?
That's true. I can't deny.
Totally and completely joking, Stephen. Hadley, how about you?
I think that it's totally a mutation from something. But what? To me, that's what the question is. Is it aliens? Is it the Fae? Are we talking something intergalactic or your portal? But I will say that AB and AB negative blood type that is the only one that's created itself, and they think that AB came about when the Mongols invaded Europe, and that's what was created from that. So there is proof that there is something like that that's happened, but the RH was not part of that. So I think that's interesting too.
Yeah.
I think it's not with this planet.
I like the idea of the portal. It could be like somehow a group came over from a different dimension. That's neat.
Yeah, I mean, if it's coming in from a different dimension, I mean, that would, to me, that would kind of go back to the fallen angel theory. You know, those who somehow disrobed and left their first estate, and were then able to mate with human women. So,
You know, it's funny
Well,
you say
and
that.
then- Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, Tully, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was just going to say, a lot of people think that it's the bloodline of Christ.
Mhm.
You know, that's the whole thing we didn't really talk about. But yeah, there's a lot of people who think that Jesus and Mary Magdalene, that it comes from there.
I totally forgot about that. That's a pretty big one.
That'd be a hell of a bloodline because right now there's a lot of people. I mean, significantly less have the negative have the negative than the positive, but still, when you look at it, it's a lot of people that come from one bloodline.
yeah.
Over 1,000 years old. Over
Yeah.
1,000.
Still, I mean, if you're going to assume that, then you have to assume look at hemophilia, or a disease. Pick any genetic disease that would have to go in the same with the same logic that if someone 1,000 years ago had a genetic disease, then all the people that have Rh negative right now could possibly have, or the same amount of people could have that same genetic disease.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's there's an awful lot of people that are Rh negative that couldn't possibly be related to Christ, just because the bloodline doesn't reach that far. The tree doesn't go that wide.
Well, I was going to say, you know, in Europe, there's more palm tree than oak when it comes to the family trees.
That's true.
Yeah, with that, I mean, with the Rh negative people in the world, it's I think we make up what it's estimated to be somewhere between 5 and the high end is 15% of the world's population.
Well, here's one that you might not argue with, Rich. It could be a genetic deformity within Rh negative because they say that one of the characteristics of Rh negative is higher IQ. So,
and we have Rich with us tonight.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You're the one that comes on here and talks all scientific to us.
Scientific-y. I like that word.
I just think that as I go along. That's how it is. I just looked it up, and it's 15% of the population theoretically is negative.
So that's only like 1.5 billion or something.
Million.
About 800 million or something.
Yeah.
Alexa, what is 15% of 6 billion?
We're at 7.
I think we're closer to 8 now, aren't we?
Yeah,
7.8 billion.
All right, so for 6 billion, it's 900 million, and right now, let's add 20% to that. So it's
so there's a billion
people.
I was making my head hurt with the math. Just stop. So my question for you with kids is, do any of y'all have Rh negative kids?
I do not.
I know of.
I do not.
All 3 of mine are O positive.
Oh, that's even stranger that you're negative and they're all positive.
Yeah. But my wife is O positive, so
well, but I mean, it's still the fact that it jumped 2 sets of generations, and you're like an island there. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
my
friend
Erin, she's a carrier, and her husband is a carrier, and their son is Rh negative.
Yeah.
So that is interesting though, how this skips. So, it's kind of like color blindness or something like that.
I would be very interested to know, and this is just because it's a current thing, but how COVID impacted people with Rh negative blood type.
I know that my blood type is one with a strong immunity, so I think that's why I'm always so healthy.
Yeah. See, for me, it got me in November of 21, and I actually went to the hospital. But mine was actually pneumonia. But I've been susceptible to pneumonia for probably 15 years. You know, I've been hospitalized with pneumonia before.
And you're negative, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
You're negative.
Yes.
So I'm also negative, and COVID came very, very close to killing me.
Yeah. I was hospitalized with it.
I would be curious, people with twins.
I have twins.
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
if there are any occasions where one's positive and one's negative.
No, both of mine are positive.
Yeah.
Apparently, like Rich explained, type O, which is myself, and Rh negative blood types are associated with risk for SARS-CoV-2 infection and COVID and severe COVID-19 illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Get your
it took
shot.
me. It probably took me 8 months to get fully recovered, and I still get fatigued now a lot easier than I ever did before. Of course, I'm older now, so.
So Morgana, I just looked it up. Can twins have two different blood types if they are the same father? Definitely yes if they are fraternal twins, and although much less common, it is also possible if they are identical twins. So mine are fraternal. I have a boy and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a mom and a dad and twins could end up with different blood types. So everybody could have a different blood type.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It doesn't go into, I looked up, twins with different RH types, and it just went into blood types. It didn't say RH.
Right. And there's always been that, or from what I can remember, talking about genetics in school and stuff, that identical twins are supposed to have identical DNA and all that stuff. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench in that.
That opens a whole new can of worms. How does blood type develop? Like, how do you, like, if I have parents with two different blood types, I have a different blood type. How did I get that blood type? That's strange to me.
So that all depends on what blood types they were. So there's a chart for that. You can actually look that up. With parents of an A parent and a B parent can give birth to an AB, or they can have an A or a B, and the positive and the negative also play a factor into it. That's a chart you can actually look up.
Okay.
Well, if we want to do a follow-up with this and talk more scientific-y stuff, I'll be happy to get Gracie to come on. She had a migraine tonight and couldn't be here, but she was going to medical school and she's got her public health master's degree and stuff like that. So if we want to have her on, she can really talk more scientific-y healthcare stuff.
How do vampires pick?
New favorite word now is scientific-y.
You need a nickel every time anybody says that.
How do vampires pick which one they like the best? Like,
taste.
Do they have to stick to a blood type they was before they converted? Or
No.
Huh.
No.
Cecil, in my new book, it has a lot of that in it.
Okay.
And hey, True Blood, when they were trying to find a mix of what they liked, they would mix the O with the A, and even though they said all the fake stuff tasted like crap, they could still mix it and get a better result. As a vampire, that's not how I choose, but
I know this might be a common theme, but this has left me with more questions than answers.
It's a very interesting subject.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, it's because there is so much science behind it too. Like I said, which we don't often go on the sciencey side, scientific-y, but
Rich is gonna have nightmares about that word.
I like that word.
Yeah, he's going to use it in a sentence at work next week, and everybody's going to look at him like, "What the hell?"
They'll be like, "How'd you come to that? Are you scientific?"
The funny thing is that you people actually think I'm a scientist. I'm just an idiot.
Hey, in our world, you are a scientist.
Yes.
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that TikTok that says, "Are you an artist?" and it starts playing that flute music. That's you, Rich.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, guys. I think that's going to finish this up tonight. Anybody have any final thoughts?
It was fun.
I don't have any thoughts at all.
Hadley, Rich,
If you want to
have
know more
anything coming out?
information, Oh, I was
Huh?
going to say, but before you get started, if you want more information, go look at Weird Realities Season 1, Episode 1, and it is on RH negative blood types.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
can I
it
do a
is.
plug real quick? I forgot.
Yes.
Wearing the Folks first episode back is dropping tomorrow. So
All
go check
right.
it.
Cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
I would throw up the blood gang sign, but every time I try to make it, it says bold instead. So
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, stay weird.